Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys. By now, we're assuming you've seen the Reddit threads and TikToks and tweets and news articles. We want to give you a timeline of what's transpired and some transparency into our decision-making.
On Labor Day weekend, multiple fans alerted us that they had seen Ned and an employee engaging in public romantic behavior. We reached out to check on that employee. Ned confirmed the reports and since confirmed that this had been going on for some time, which was obviously very shocking to us, and we just want you to know that we had no idea this was going on. All of that information was just as shocking to us as all of this has been for you this week.
You guys, something is seriously going on with the Try Guys, and the internet is eating it up. Not only did they drop some eyebrow-raising comments on their newest podcast episode, but the timing of everything has fans convinced they're indirectly calling out Ned Fulmer. Again. And honestly, the chaos is unreal. But before we even touch the shade, we have to talk about the comeback no one thought would actually happen. Yep, after 3 years of total silence, Ned has popped back up with a brand new podcast, and his very first guest is none other than Ariel. Let that sink in for a second. If you're new here, or somehow avoided the wildfire that burned down the Try Guys fandom in 2022, here's the quick rundown. Ned Fulmer, the self-proclaimed wife guy, cookbook co-author, Baby Steps podcast host, and Mr. I Love My Wife, blew up the internet after being caught in a full-on affair with an employee, Alexandria Herring. His entire persona evaporated overnight, and the fallout was so massive that even SNL spoofed it. It was a cultural moment. And now, the Try Guys are hinting at their feelings all over again, while Ned attempts a redemption arc in real time. The timing is messy, the energy is messy, the fandom is messy. Everything about this situation is giving season premiere of a reality show, but everyone's actually traumatized.
We immediately removed Ned from work activities and engaged an HR professional to conduct a thorough review of the facts. We also opted to remove Ned from our releases pending the results of that review. Over a few weeks, that's included removing his section from videos, digitally removing him from others, and choosing not to feature him in our merch throws. Honestly, I want to give major props to our editing staff for how deftly they've handled that.
All right, so before diving into the chaos happening right now, let's rewind a bit. Because the whole situation only makes sense if you remember exactly how big the original scandal was. Back in September 2022, the internet practically exploded when it came out that Ned Fulmer, one of the founding Try Guys and the group's longtime wife guy, had been having an affair with his employee, Alexandria Herring. And not only was it messy, it completely destroyed the image he'd spent years building. This wasn't just some random cast member. Ned's entire identity revolved around loving Ariel. He talked about her constantly. They co-wrote a whole cookbook together. They ran their parenting podcast, Baby Steps. He made being a devoted husband his brand. And then suddenly, the world finds out he's making out with an employee at a club during Labor Day weekend? The hypocrisy was insane. The fallout on the business side was brutal. The Try Guys launched a formal internal investigation, cut ties with Ned immediately, and dropped one of the most viral YouTube statements of the decade. Keith, Zach, and Eugene were visibly crushed. They even admitted they wouldn't have known about the affair if fans hadn't sent them pictures on social media. Imagine finding out your business partner betrayed you because Twitter told you. Unreal.
So you guys probably saw that the most famous Try Guy, Ned Fulmer, launched a brand new podcast called Rock Bottom. His first guest is his estranged wife and baby mama, Ariel, where they talk all about the infamous cheating scandal that occurred 3 years ago. But the part that is gaining a lot of attention is the moment where Ariel says that she took on a lot of the guilt and shame from the whole scandal. And Ned replies with, "I'm so sorry that society did that to you." And Ned, I guess I'm just a little confused because I don't remember when us as a society cheated on Ariel. Like, where's the accountability here? Another interesting element surrounding this new podcast is that Ariel and Ned used to host a show called Baby Steps, and they took over that YouTube page to turn it into Rock Bottom. So, wow, very generous of you, Ariel. I don't think I would have ever done that for the man that cheated on me publicly. You're a bigger woman than I.
After that explosion, Ned basically vanished. Like, full digital ghost mode. No posts, no statements, no half-baked apologies, nothing. For 3 whole years, the man disappeared from the internet. while the remaining Try Guys kept the company moving forward. They shifted their energy into new series, expanded their streaming service Second Try, and slowly rebuilt their brand without him. For a while, it almost felt like everyone collectively agreed to pretend Ned Fulmer never existed. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, he reappears. On September 16th of this year, Ned announced he was launching a brand new podcast called Rock Bottom. And for his very first episode, dropping on September 17th, he brought on the one person everyone needed to hear from, Ariel, his wife. Well, technically his separated wife. And let me tell you, that episode was heavy. It was a full hour of Ned trying to re-explain himself, while Ariel sat across from him being brutally honest in a way we've never seen before. When someone asked if she had forgiven him, she didn't dance around it. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "The answer is no. Absolutely not." She also confirmed that they separated immediately after the scandal, that she found out about the affair through fans online, and that their lives have been mostly separate ever since, aside from co-parenting their 2 boys. Meanwhile, Ned tried to frame the whole thing as part of his rock bottom to redemption journey, and the internet was not buying it.
Title is not clickbait. This is real. This is an announcement that we, after 40 years of this
40 years
of this
How long has
award-winning
it been?
podcast.
How long?
It started in 2019.
Loud and clear, after 6 years, we are going to be saying goodbye to the tripod at the end of the year.
Here's where everything starts getting really interesting. While Ned is over on his new podcast trying to stage a redemption arc, the Try Guys dropped a bomb of their own. They're officially ending the tripod after 6 years. And the way they announced it? Oh, the shade was practically leaking through the microphone. The episode is titled "The Tripod is Ending," and they revealed the final episode will air on December 18th, 2025. Fans were already spiraling because Rainey, who's been running the show and is basically a fan favorite, seemed like she was getting the short end of the stick. They praised her, said she brought the dumbest segments in the best way, and then Keith tossed out, "We hope to work with you again in the future, whenever we can." That was it. That was the send-off. The comments section immediately went nuclear. People were dragging them, saying things like, "Letting Rainey go like this is embarrassing. I've lost respect." "So you're firing her right before Christmas? Seriously?" But even that drama wasn't the highlight, because the boys were absolutely taking digs at Ned the entire time, and fans caught every single one. At one point, one of them asks, "You think you're interesting enough?" Which is almost word for word what Ariel told Ned during his comeback episode. People in the comments were losing it, saying the Try Guys were basically quoting her on purpose. Then the guys got into this whole bit about The Office and someone cheating while engaged. They all start chuckling and go, sounds familiar," followed by a sarcastic, "Nothing's coming to mind." They knew exactly what they were implying. It was petty. It was pointed. It was perfect. And then Miles, their producer, drops the messiest story of the episode. He mentions being an admin on an old podcast channel he used to work on, and that he only just got removed after the channel was rebranded. Fans immediately connected the dots. That podcast was Ned's, and Ned literally forgot to revoke Miles' admin access when relaunching it for his own comeback. One of the Try Guys even says, "You'd think they'd be more careful," while another adds, "Are you saying this person had bad judgment, perhaps?" The subtext wasn't subtexting. They were saying it with their entire chest.
But that's been a joy, and Rainey's been able to give us the dumbest segments imaginable, and I've loved that.
Thank you,
Truly.
and great to serve.
Yeah, honestly, a huge shout out, Rainey. I feel that, the podcast was left in her hands, and I feel that she did an astounding job.
Truly.
It is obviously a huge honor. We hope to be able to work with you, Rainey, in the future again on bring you back and whenever we can.
Now, here's the thing. No matter how funny the shade was, the Try Guys aren't walking away from this scandal completely spotless either. And fans are loudly pointing that out. Yes, Ned's actions caused a massive collapse in their company. And yes, they have every right to feel betrayed. But the way they handled Rainey's situation during the announcement, people were not impressed. A lot of viewers felt like the whole thing mirrored the cold, corporate layoff vibes that the Try Guys always claimed to rise above. The comments were flooded with takes like, "This was deeply disrespectful to Rainey. They talked over her, said she was done, and moved on. How do you fire someone on camera and then keep chatting like nothing happened?" This is exactly the type of corporate behavior they swore they weren't about. Despite this, the boys were clearly trying to reframe the moment as a business decision, not a moral failure. Some fans defended them, saying the podcast might not have been sustainable or profitable anymore, and that they needed to pivot. But there's something undeniably suspicious about the timing. Ending a podcast that's been running since 2019 right after Ned drops a comeback episode? It's hard not to raise an eyebrow. It almost feels like they're closing the chapter entirely, putting a lid on anything tied to the era when the company still had 4 founding members. And honestly, you can't really blame them. Why keep producing a show that's constantly going to remind them of the exact moment everything fell apart? Ending the tripod could be their way of wiping the slate clean, moving forward without a lingering reminder of the betrayal that nearly wrecked their business. Meanwhile, Ned's podcast is not landing the way he hoped. The comments under his first episode were brutal. People were basically saying, "I'm only here to hear Ariel. I won't be watching any more of Ned's content." 3 years later, and he still hasn't taken real accountability. Fans also noticed how he kept calling Alex his producer, instead of acknowledging the real problem, the employee power dynamic that made the affair especially unethical. That choice of wording? People clocked it immediately.
You think you're interesting enough?
Not everyone is interesting enough to have a show. And then you two made it fun.
Thank you for saying that.
What makes all of this even more complicated is how differently Ned and Ariel are handling the aftermath. On the podcast, Ariel made it painfully clear that she wants nothing to do with public life anymore. She said she's done being a public figure and wants to focus on rebuilding her life privately. Meanwhile, Ned is out here turning their separation, their trauma, and their entire downfall into content, using their personal pain as the foundation of his comeback brand. His show, Rock Bottom, is supposed to be about people facing their lowest moments, but launching it by spotlighting the breakup he caused? People are calling it both manipulative and self-serving. Some viewers feel like he's trying to spin the narrative into a healing journey without actually doing the heavy lifting or owning the full extent of the harm. Others think it's a desperate attempt to regain sympathy by leaning on Ariel's presence. Cultural analysts and professors who study influencer dynamics even chimed in, saying Ned's problem isn't just the cheating, it's the betrayal of authenticity. His entire persona relied on being the wholesome, loyal husband. Fans felt like they knew him, so when the truth came out, the betrayal hit harder than a typical celebrity scandal. It wasn't just Ned cheated, it was Ned lied to millions of people who trusted him. Which leads us to the biggest question. Can Ned actually make a comeback? History shows that some public figures bounce back, but those people took real accountability, made visible changes, and actually showed personal growth. Meanwhile, Ned disappeared for years, then resurfaced with a podcast where he still dodges responsibility and glosses over the power imbalance that started this whole disaster. Even the most forgiving fans are struggling to see a real redemption arc. The Try Guys, on the other hand, are trying to rebuild in their own way. They're relaunching old favorites like Try Every Day, focusing more heavily on their streaming platform, and attempting to create a new chapter without the ghost of the scandal hanging over everything. But they're juggling their own problems too. Eugene's departure, fan backlash over Rainey, and the pressure to maintain their brand after a massive shakeup. At this point, it feels like every single person involved is trying to move forward, but they're all being forced to drag the past behind them because the internet never, ever forgets.
Roy was engaged to a lady at work, and then one of the people at work, I mean, kind of a familiar story if you think about it.
Nothing's coming to mind.
And that's really the heart of the whole situation. The internet never lets anything die. In 2025, every mistake, every scandal, every moment of weakness becomes permanent. It gets reposted, memed, analyzed, stitched on TikTok, turned into commentary videos, and dragged back into the spotlight every time someone sneezes in the wrong direction. You can't quietly mess up anymore. Your mistakes get immortalized. For the Try Guys, that means every business decision, even ones they make years later, gets compared to the moment their company nearly collapsed overnight. Every shift in their content, every project that ends, every subtle comment gets dissected for hidden meaning and tied back to the scandal. They're trying to move forward, but the internet keeps reminding them of the exact thing they're trying to escape. For Ned, it means he can't rebuild in peace. Every time he posts something, people flood the comments mentioning the affair, calling out his wording, or pointing out moments where he still isn't acknowledging the power dynamics. Even his attempt to rebrand himself as someone who's learned and grown feels hollow to many because those same viewers remember the curated persona he told them was real. Ariel, meanwhile, is trying to separate herself from all of it. She wants privacy. She wants normalcy. She wants distance. But no matter how far she pulls away, her name gets pulled right back into the conversation because Ned keeps centering her, even unintentionally, in his comeback narrative. And fans aren't blind to the emotional labor being placed on her shoulders. So where does that leave everything? The Try Guys are ending a major chapter and signaling that they're ready to rebuild without old baggage. Ned is reaching for a second chance that the internet isn't sure he deserves. Ariel is trying to close the book on this publicly while still having to co-parent privately. And the fans? We're sitting front row, watching it unfold like the most chaotic reality show imaginable. Except none of these people are characters. This is real life. At the end of the day, this whole saga is a reminder. When your brand is built on your personality and your personal relationships, you don't just risk losing followers when things go wrong, you risk losing trust, which is infinitely harder to get back. And no amount of podcast episodes can fix that unless the work behind the scenes is real.
We've had multiple podcasts across the company.
4 or 5.
Yeah,
Five even.
8.
I heard that you were still on the back end of one of those podcasts.
Oh,
Dan, I really wish you would have noticed a little before today.
Because I heard that
no, this isn't like, I think we can talk about this.
there's a
Who gives
podcast
shit?
that you used to
There's
work
a
on that
podcast
got
that I-
rebranded.
Can I say it? Doesn't matter, I guess.
And you were...
I used to work on a podcast, and it's what's crazy is that like because I created all those channels, I was still an admin on some of them. And then if your podcast channel gets rebranded to be a new channel, that's maybe something new, then I stay an admin. And I got a notification today that I was only just now removed as an admin on
Which,
that podcast.
if
Such a
feels
bummer.
like
I know, really
feels
a bummer. I
like they
could've gone in
should have
there.
really looked through who had access. You'd think they'd be more careful.
Yeah,
Because
that's right.
usually-
when you left,
Are you saying this person had bad judgment?
perhaps.
So that's where everything stands right now. The Try Guys are closing the door on one of their longest-running projects while slipping in some not-so-subtle digs at Ned. Ned is out here trying to rebuild his image through a podcast that's already getting torn apart by viewers. Ariel is choosing peace and privacy while still being forced into the spotlight because her ex won't stop turning their past into content. And the fans? We're just here, watching this whole saga unfold like it's the wildest crossover episode of our favorite drama series. But I want to know what you think, because this situation is messy on every side. Do you think the Try Guys were justified in shading Ned? Should they have handled Rainey's exit differently? Is Ned's comeback way too soon? Or do you think he actually has a shot at rebuilding? And honestly, is ending the tripod a smart business move or just weird timing? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I love hearing what you guys think. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!